not as consistent and not interconnecting these stories. So we're in a weird spot with Marvel, as we'll talk about, with exiting phase 4 and entering phase 5 and all the different conversations about what's going on with Secret Wars, what's going on with Marvel, superhero fatigue, is all that stuff. But today we will take a look at all these movies and see how we would place them, have some thoughts on the movies, why they're as high as they are, why they might be as low or somewhere in the middle. And then by the time we wrap it up, we'll take a look at this list and talk about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's a powerful thing. I'm looking forward to what y'all's opinion was about that, because I haven't heard what you guys' thoughts are on it yet. But, long live Rocket.
Yes, sir. Yeah. All right, Chris. We'll catch you later, bro.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, man. Well, that leaves us with myself and Amanda. What a great discussion thus far, Amanda. I appreciate you again, guys. Chris's information can be found in the description. But we're gonna wrap things up with our last 2 more phases, Amanda. But we're in the multiversal saga, Amanda, and we've spoken about it ad nauseum with our previous streams with covering phase 4. But we opened things up with Black Widow, and we talked a little bit earlier, Amanda, about placement and where characters are arriving and when they should have, come and had their other solo outing. I think there's no one more disrespected in the MCU as far as placement than probably Black Widow. This film, Amanda, for me, big fan of spy espionage drama. I love the character. I really do enjoy the characters. Red Guardian, of course. Yelena is probably the best character for me in phase 4. I love Florence Pugh so much, but I say that to say that she stole her own sister's film, because it was not a fair, to me, it wasn't a farewell to Black Widow, more so than it was an introduction to Yelena, replacing her, which to me is unfortunate, because Scarlett Johansson, think from MCU perspective, she meant so much to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She saved the Marvel Cinematic Universe with her sacrifice in Endgame. But for her to get this backhanded, finally give you a film, to not give her a proper outing, to me was just so disrespectful. So for me, Black Widow and the Taskmaster, don't even get me started on that terrible villain. It's a D for me, Amanda. I'm sorry. I'm not a Black Widow fan at all. The least rewatchable film for me. It is so out of place.
Honestly, now that you say rewatchability, I only watched it once. Yeah. I think I watched it once at home and then once in theaters, and that's it. So I agree with everything that you said. I probably would have put it at a C, just because the family aspect I really loved.
That's the strongest point.
But I completely get that it would be bottom. If Ant-Man and the Wasp is a D, then Black Widow is there with it. So I completely get that. Yeah, I put it a D.
Good with a D, and speaking of D, again, disrespect. The throw her film on Disney Plus is just another middle finger to the character, and that was a Bob Chapek move. It's disrespectful. So the last time I'm going to see that character is a terrible way to end it for me. But Shang-Chi, Amanda, again, as we'll talk about phase 4, is a lot of highs and lows. And again, I feel like the low was Black Widow, but then a high was Shang-Chi. One of the things about this film that I was excited for, I'm a big martial arts fan, and I thought that, we talked about Winter Soldier, the hand-to-hand combat was great, but we've really never gotten people actually fighting in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Amanda, those hand-to-hand combat fights with Shang-Chi going against, his the dude that with the mask and that scene, looking for his sister, which, by the way, his sister is so great in the film, and I'm excited to see what they do with her next.
Yeah.
And then, Amanda, the villain, Wen-Wu, is that dude. I'm so mad they killed him off. Hopefully,
I know.
Some way to bring him back in the multiverse, but all that stuff is great. The Katie Aquafina relationship with Shang-Chi was a little not as good as I think it could have been. I think the third act should have been more personal, like it was in Civil War, with just the Shang-Chi, Wen-Wu, and the sister duking it out, fighting it out like a family, versus the whole dragons of it all. But there's more pros than cons to me, and I mentioned I'm not a Trevor fan, so the Trevor I can go away with. But I have Shang-Chi at a B, Amanda. I have a solid B. Dustin Daniel Cretton, I'm excited to see what he does with Kang Dynasty, because I think he's a great director. But what say you?
Yeah, I would put it at a B too. I think this was the high of phase 4, and I will always praise it. Like you said, the hand-to-hand combat, God tier, so good. But so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was so lively and interesting, especially his first time out. It was so cool. And I love Wen-Wu. That's top 5 villain. He freaking killed it. I was on a Tony Leung binge after that, because
he's a GOAT. For a lot of us, people in America that might have never heard his name, he's a legend. overseas, and rightfully so. He's a fantastic actor.
I agree with the B placement for sure.
Yeah. I'm excited to see more of Shang-Chi 2 in the future, and I'm really so excited to see more of that character. But I think Chris alluded to it earlier. I'm going to have you kick it off, Amanda. November 5th, 2021. Chloe Zhao, Academy Award-winning director, Best Picture winner, comes with The Eternals, which I think, as Chris said earlier, is it gets a lot of hate. Boring. It's not really that much going on, maybe for some people. I will admit the villain deviance of it all was a little lackluster, but I think at the end of the day, we know the villains were really, Icarus. And Amanda, what say you with Chloe Zhao, Eternals? Does it deserve all the hate, or is it underrated?
I think it's overhated, but it's not a masterpiece.
Yeah.
That. And I think that's where people started to argue, where people thought it was like, this should have gotten 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's like, I don't think it's there.
Right.
Okay. I think that with the storyline, what Chloe Zhao did, because she has a very like a humanistic lens, she grounds these gods. That worked because that's literally what Neil Gaiman did for the comics. And I get that.
Right.
It's so disjointed and messy and all over the place for me personally that it just dragged on with what they were trying to say across centuries. I think the cast is fantastic. Angelina Jolie as Thena. Oh my God. Brian Tyree Henry as Bastos. Oh my God. Killed it. All of them. Their power sets, beautiful. There's so many great aspects. It's just, it's dull for me. It's kind of boring.
I hear you.
So I'd put it at a B. I think a B.
That's respectful. I respect that.
Yeah, I think a B is okay.
Yeah, it's not S tier, but it's definitely not a D or an F like a lot of people have it in there. And respectfully, so I get their reason. Like you mentioned, it is some lulls, and there's so much, like you said, Amanda. We're tackling these eternal beings that's been around for thousands of years, and there's just so much to pack into one film. I know there's been some thinking back on it. People said it would have been great to talk about Disney Plus. Introduce them on a Disney Plus show, really flesh out the past, and then, tie it into the present. So I understand all that, but like you mentioned, I think Chloe, to me, is such a great human story, right? These are intergalactic gods, but it's the human connections. It's the humanity of, the characters that I love. And as you just mentioned, the cast is just absolutely incredible. Ari, I love her so much. And the Druid relationship was so good. Gilgamesh and Thena's relationship was so good. Fastos, Kinko, Sprite. I mean, the whole crew was just fantastic. But villain is bad. The deviants, they didn't even need the deviants. They should just left Icarus as kind of the ranger, and them going against Icarus from the very beginning would have made more sense to me versus having the deviants as just kind of a throwaway character or characters. But I really love this film. I have it at an A, which I know is crazy, but I'm good with putting it at a B. People out there that's probably watching this like, this is a D, this is an F. What are these people talking about? What movie did they see? I think this film is going to have one of those where it's going to get better on a rewatch. And hopefully when we see these characters again, which is kind of in limbo, we don't know when we're going to see them, and the whole celestial in the middle of the ocean hopefully gets addressed. But I think when people see them again, they might go back and appreciate what they were trying to do with this one. So again, let us know in the chat how you guys feel. I think this one might be another quick one, Amanda, but definitely combat me if it is. But No Way Home is an S tier. Yeah. I will say on rewatch, I do rewatch this pretty frequently. The first half isn't as strong as we know when we get Toby and Andrew and when everything comes together, but I still enjoy the ramifications of the first half tie so much into, even though I'm not a big fan of Far From Home, but it did tie that up. He's out it. People know who he is, and they showed you the impact of his identity being out there, how it affected Aunt May, how it affected him going to college, how it affected his friends. So I appreciate that character stuff in the first act, but then you come with the second and third act and just completely shut it down with just nostalgia, the Spider-Man coming together, the GOAT of fights probably for me in a Spider-Man film, when Spider-Man is fighting the Green Goblin in that apartment complex and he's power slamming him through the floors. And then just Willem Dafoe, I mean, legend himself. Alfred Molina, as we're recording this, Jamie Foxx. I'm not the biggest Electro fan, but I love Jamie Foxx, and I'm glad that he's doing well from all accounts. But this is an S, another S tier for me. But what say you?
100% S tier. I see. The thing was, I remembered the day before everyone was gonna go watch it. John Campea like literally spoiled the entire thing, and like the clips and everything dropped.
That's a whole other that whole discourse about the spoilers with that film, I think was more than even Infinity War. I mean, we knew the whole rumors about the Spider-Man, Toby and Andrew was literally rumor like 2 years before the movie was even in production. So the spoilers with that one was all over the place.
It was so bad, but you know what? In context,
it still worked.
That thing, like even though I will in context,
the Ned being a sorcerer and them coming in, so the living room was not as epic as it probably should have been. Like they should have probably came when Spider-Man was getting his ass beat by Green Goblin, and the fact that we didn't see Tobey Maguire and Green Goblin fight.
I know,
a little missed opportunity, but you know, I'll let you go ahead.
I totally agree, but I think that like those moments there, being in that theater, like it's just incredible. The feeling is incredible. I cry. I literally tear up every time I watch it. Just watching, like especially Andrew Garfield, because you know his Spidey,
MJ.
You know, when he says, "Oh my God," when he saves MJ, please, it's so sad. But the whole thing, everything's perfect. Like it's just a fantastic film that you can rewatch time and time again, and it's totally S tier. Yeah.
And I've always been harsh on John Watts because I still don't think I know what a John Watts film looks like, because I feel like he fits so good into what Marvel was trying to do with his films, and he didn't really get his voice out there. So hopefully, you know, with his, you know, the show he's doing with Star Wars, and hopefully he'll do other projects where I can say, okay, that is what John Watts is, a director. But I still give him props for being a company guy, being a team player. And I think there are moments that you can probably see his voice in the film, like the whole teenager coming of age. I think he's really good at doing that. But I give credit to him. He's one of the few directors that directed all 3 films, and I think he has a pretty good handle on what he did with this character. So shout out to Spider-Man, man. But Amanda, now me and you both, now that Chris isn't here to maybe defend Doctor Strange, but a character that we're not the biggest fans of, but May 6, 2022, last year, Sam Raimi directing Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness. Amanda, we just talked about the spoilers with No Way Home, but I think second to that, oh my goodness, Amanda, I remember the discourse on Tom Cruise as you know, Iron Superior, and all these Hugh Jackman, all the rumors, and none of it came true, by the way. But it was just so much discourse. I think the film, looking back on it, I have my pros. Like, I love horror. I love Sam Raimi. I love the horror influence that he had on the film, and I love his campiness. But looking back on the film, and Chris kind of alluded to it before he had to bounce, it could have been bigger. It should have been bigger. But I say all that to say I'm giving it a B, by the way. But I'm giving it a B because even though I do not like Doctor Strange, Amanda, thank goodness for Wanda.
Literally, right? And you know how I feel about her. And I was like, thank God for this woman.
Yeah.
I know.
She carried that film.
I know. Thank God she did. I would drop it to a C just because of the Illuminati, because that pissed me off to no end. Like that.
Spaghetti Reeds.
I can't, because you know what? We're waiting for the Fantastic Four fan cast.
Yeah.
You don't do that. Like that's just me. That was like the thing that I didn't like. I think the whole thing with America Chavez also dropped it for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't there's so much more to that character. And like you said with the Eternals, why don't we set up the Young Avengers in a television show? Like, what are we doing? They haven't
announced that yet. It's baffling, but yeah.
You know, like there's aspects, again, horror elements, classic Raimi stuff, which like
zombies. We get Marvel zombies kind of alluded to. Yeah.
Like killer stuff. It just wasn't strong as a Doctor Strange.
Right. It's messy. Movie. It's not a Doctor. It's a Wanda film featuring Doctor Strange.
Exactly.
Which I'm good with because I don't like Doctor Strange. But they should have switched the mark. It should have been a Wanda movie, Doctor Strange, because a lot of us thought that he was going to be in WandaVision. This would have been literally perfectly set up for her to have her first solo outing and her kind of going on that dark path that she is. But this is the marvel of it all. They kind of mishmash projects, and some people get the short end of the stick, which is Doctor Strange to me. I think the only thing, Amanda, that we learned from this, and it's been 2 movies that he's gotten, that he had a sister that died, and maybe the reason her dying was the reason he became a surgeon. That's the only thing we know about Doctor Strange. Does he have a mom? Does he have a dad? We don't know. Neither does the MCU. But this is where we are getting into the territory, Amanda, where it's just like, okay, Doctor Strange could have been better. We're coming off of a high of Spider-Man. There's some, Eternals wasn't all that great for many people, but then we get Thor, Love and Thunder, man. It's Taika Waititi. I think this is a film that shows that Kevin Feige has not been on his game. It's too much on their plate. They just let Taika Waititi do whatever he wanted, and unfortunately, it's not good.
Oh no!
I was more high on Thor the first time I saw it because I'm a fan of, again, that kind of the goofiness that Taika gave us. And there are moments, like I think Jane is much more of a better character than she was in the previous movies that we saw her in. You enjoy what Christian Bale was trying to bring to the role, even though we didn't see him butchering many gods at all. If we did, it was off screen. And I like the sentiment of the film of this kind of passing the baton and dealing with grief and him becoming the father at the end of the film. I just think it should have been fleshed out a lot more. I think I was at like a 3.5 when I first saw it, but on a rewatch before Quantumanium, I'm at a comfortable C. I don't hate it as much as a lot of people do, but I'm at a C with Love and Thunder. It should have been better.
That's fair. I'm surprised because I liked Love and Thunder more than Thor Ragnarok, which is saying a lot for me.
Yeah.
I think the romantic comedy aspect that's infused here really worked for me. I thought the humor for Thor, like being love struck again with Jane, like I loved all of that.
And then his relationship with Mjolnir and
oh my god, it was so funny. It was just that stuff was cute.
Yeah,
you know, it has its moments. The CGI is absolutely terrible in Love and Thunder. It's so bad.
So bad.
But I like, again, Christian Bale had elements where he would be so menacing as Gore the God Butcher. Like you said, we don't see enough of what he's capable of.
Not at all.
Russell Crowe with his skirt,
I forgot about
walking
Zeus.
down the stairs.
I forgot about Zeus.
It's just campy and I love it. That's the thing, is like this time he made it so dumb that I liked it, whereas Ragnarok's the different, right? But I think a C is fair, so I put it at a C.
And then I just think about the Guardians. I don't even know why the Guardians were in that movie at all, especially now seeing Guardians 3 is like, why were they even? Of course, because of the Asgardians of the Galaxy, but they shouldn't have been in the movie. And also, I will admit, Amanda, and we'll get to Black Panther here. I think the franchise missed Loki. I think that the film really did miss Loki. This is the first movie he wasn't in.
To bounce off.
Exactly.
Right?
So Thor, you go to see it with Thor.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Now, this was Chris alluded to a lot of stuff with the film. Obviously, the whole Chadwick Boseman of it all, rest in peace. A lot of discord, and I definitely believe that there should have been an opportunity to maybe delay the project because it is such an impactful thing to not only the franchise, but to these people, man. I really do think that there should have been Marvel should, and I know Kevin Feige came out and said, Ryan Coogler, we're going to just take your lead on this. If you want to take a break, we understand. If you want to continue on, we understand. This was a tribute to what Chadwick meant to the cast. But I just think sometimes when you allow your emotions to lead a film, which this is one of the most emotional movies, I will give it that. But sometimes I think it might have clouded the judgment of what to me, I still think that they should have played this movie. If they want to continue it, it should have been in the blip. Because it just narratively, it made sense that T'Challa was not he wasn't around during that time. But neither here nor there. Putting that aside, narratively speaking, story speaking, film speaking, there are some incredible moments I love about this film. I will always appreciate the introduction to Namor because he is a top tier villain for me. Tanar Kuretha was fantastic. The whole, again, I'm a horror fan, so I love the build up and the sirens and all that. And I think Shuri, again, I applaud every single one of these actors for pulling in double duty of acting. They're playing into losing T'Challa, but they're also playing into losing their leader in Chadwick. And the way that she played it, and the way Angela Bassett, Oscar nominated, snubbed, during that time. Queen Mother, Ramona was fantastic. There's some really great scenes, but it's just collectively, it just kind of misses the mark. Riri Williams was kind of another Marvel setup that's just not fit into the role. The whole fact that the film stems on capturing the scientists is like, what are we even talking about? Namor has already established he has armies that are more grains of sand in the world than he has his people. Why are we fighting? It was just a really clunky movie for me that I think Ryan Coogler, again, I feel like the emotions of it took away from the really what they could have given us with that. But that's just me. I say all that to say Wakanda Forever is a C for me. But that's just my personal taste. Because I hold this, as we spoke earlier with the first one being an S tier, I hold it at such a high regard. But you know, we'll see what comes with the future of this franchise. But you get on my soapbox, Amanda. We'll say again, I said it was a C, which I know for some people might be crazy, but where are you at with Black Panther? Wakanda Forever.
I agree with every single thing that you said. I would also put it at a C because it felt like two different movies being combined. Obviously, did I cry? 100%.
Oh yeah.
Pulls on those heartstrings. Of course, it's going to. I think it's a very difficult movie to watch. It's not rewatchable.
Yes, it is not. I agree.
At all, especially what Shuri has to go through. I thought it was a bit cruel just because of the hero story that she has to follow. I thought that was cruel. Yeah. Considering how much grief she had already undergone just for that story. Yeah. My issue with this is that it's really long.
Yeah,
very long.
Very long, and there's a lot of stuff
need to be.
Out of this. Yeah,
you could have done a Namor solo film with how much was in this for Namor. Not saying that he wasn't good. It's just it's overstuffed. I thought the fight choreography was good as well, especially with Okoye. I thought there were they were evenly matched. That scene on the bridge, my God. This one had stakes, and I could appreciate that as well. Right. Again, it comes down to pacing, overly long, and certain things need to make sense. So I agree completely with the C.
I'm glad we're on the same page there. And then one more thing I'll mention, because as you mentioned, some other, and I don't want to poo-poo on it. Again, I know this movie is highly regarded for a lot of people, and understandably so. But then I even think about, again, the setup and the plot. Like, not only Riri having a Disney Plus series, like, we knew she wasn't going to die. It's like, come on, Marvel. Yeah. But then the other side of it was Ross and Valentina and all the government stuff. Like, you guys had something there with the government putting two countries against each other. That's some good, kind of stuff that they were doing. But they just dropped the ball. Only thing they did with that was setting up the Thunderbolts, that she now has known where the vibranium is, and she's going to get this team to find more vibranium, to find maybe some other. I know a lot of people are rumored that the Captain America is going to be taking place on the island where the X-Men are from. So again, all that stuff is just set up. So, and that's the point I want to get back to what you mentioned. That's plot that could have been taken out of the film because it didn't even serve the purpose of that film, which was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Exactly.
Let us know in the chat, guys, in the comments where you all are at. But now, Amanda, wrapping up with our final two, and now we're in phase 5, which at this point, Amanda, I guess now looking back at it, as we broke down the other previous phases, phase 4, and we're not including the shows, but just narratively with the movies, it's a messy phase, Amanda. I think at this point, phase 4 and even phase 5, I don't even know why we have phases at this point, because they don't matter, because none of these stories are really like the previous 3 phases interconnected and did it in a way that it made sense. But now they're just like throwing whatever at us. We get this lineup of Black Widow leads us to Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Love and Thunder. We got all these sequels and an origin story. It's just a messy phase overall. I don't hate it as much as people do, because I think the saving grace for me in phase 4 is something that we haven't talked about, which is the shows, low-key, WandaVision, stuff like that. To me, boosts it up. But the movies are weak and very inconsistent. We had an S tier with Spider-Man and some other good ones, but just generally speaking, Amanda, what do you think about phase 4 before we get into this phase 5?
It's so underwhelming compared to what we had before. I think there's having no sense of direction is really what's harming it. I remember going through all the shows, like on the live streams. That was the one thing that I kept saying. But what's the point of all this? Where's it leading?
Where are we going with this? Yeah.
Where we're going, and we still don't know. And I think the whole storyline is the fact that, like, now you made me sit through all of these movies and TV shows. I don't care anymore, which is so sad. And I want to care, believe me, but it's just so long with no direction, no consistency whatsoever. The things we're getting in phase 4, we're not going to see sequels to that in maybe 6-7 years from now. We may not even get one.
Exactly. There's a big question mark for people like the Eternals, right? There's a big question mark for a group like that they might just implement a couple Eternals in a couple projects. But it's I know Marvel says it was the experimental stage, and I will applaud this. I know there will be haters out there. I do love the diversity in phase 4, the She-Hulks of the world, the Miss Marvels of the world, Egyptian heroes from Moon Knight, stuff like that. I applaud, I champion for, but it's just a very messy phase, to say the least. But speaking of messy, We're now in phase 5, Amanda, and they kick things off. I know this is your boy, and me, you, and boy Griffin. We had a 2-hour stream about this film. We are talking about Ant-Man Quantumania. Amanda, I haven't, so it's not on Disney Plus yet. I've seen it one time in the theaters. I will probably revisit it once it does come out on Disney Plus. I think by the time we're recording this, I think it's coming out by the end of the month.
Yeah, I think so.
We talked about Kang, and putting the Jonathan Majors controversy side. Great character, great villain. Thinking the wrong movie. But and we talked about, I love how Janet has more to do. Scott and Cassie relationship has its moments. Catherine Newton has her moments. But it's just not an Ant-Man movie anymore. It's literally, unfortunately, Peyton Reed. I know he said that he wanted to make this a bigger film because, as we talked about, all the Ant-Mans were just palate cleansers after the big event films, and now they get their big event film. I think Peyton Reed was just saving face. I think personally, he probably maybe felt like, damn, I don't get to tell the Ant-Man story that he might have wanted told because it was just set up, multiverse, Kang, Quantumania, and no heart, soul like we got from the first Ant-Man. I don't like Ant-Man 2, but I'll say all that to say I'm giving Ant-Man, looking back on it, probably I'm in between a C and a D, but I'll give it a C because I do think Kane does have some good moments, especially the relationship with Janet. But it's a lot of messy stuff. I think giving it a C for me is generous. But what about you, Amanda?
I'm at a C as well. As much as I love him and as much as I loved elements of the family, for me, the father-daughter relationship will forever be the greatest thing in the MCU for me. I feel so connected to him and Cassie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I love them. And then even with like Hank and Janet more so, because Hope did absolutely nothing in this movie.
Oh my goodness, Amanda. Why was she even there?
Cannot even
the
deal
haircut.
with that.
I know.
Oh, so bad. So bad. And I used to love her.
Louise. Why couldn't you just swap out?
Right. Like little
her with
swapsies.
Louise?
Yeah. What are we doing here? But yeah, if it wasn't for Kang, this would have been even worse. I remember sitting in that theater and I was like so confused with what I was watching because none of it made sense. And the character interactions were really weird. The performances felt like phoned in, especially like Michael Douglas, who even admitted that he doesn't want to be there anymore, which was hilarious to me.
Green screen the whole time.
It looked like a green screen.
It did.
On top of it, it's like we're acting in theaters. Let's just all go on a stage with a minimalist set list. Let's figure this out.
Pretty much.
But my number one peeve with Quantumania is that it feels like we got absolutely nowhere. Like we just he popped into
Start the movie
realm.
the same way, we ended the same way. No lessons learned, no characters had consequences. I'm going to rewatch it. I'm going to give it another chance when it comes out on Disney Plus. Mr. James Gunn, us as DC fans, we're going to be living good, hopefully, in the coming years with monsters, gods, and monsters. James Gunn, farewell to the Guardians that started all the way back in 2014. What did you think about the final chapter of what we're going to see from this group? There'll probably be another iteration of them in the future, as we saw with the post-credit scene, potentially. We're going to get Star-Lord back. Potentially. What did you think about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?
I loved it so much. I feel like we needed this movie because it's been really rocky. Cried straight through because of Rocket. I think Rocket's story is one of the best in the MCU. I'm going to say that.
I agree with you more, Amanda.
Absolutely phenomenal. And then when you look back at his journey in the MCU, it's just so amazing that it led to this. And like you look back and it's like, for me, he was always been the heart of the Guardians. I loved it. I thought it looked absolutely gorgeous. Like the freaking CGI.
Like, we are in Disney, right? You guys have all the money in the world. Ant-Man, Quantumania. Why does it look so bad? Thor, Love and Thunder. It looked visually stunning.
Right? Like the first shot of Rocket, I was like, this thing is real. Like the fur, like it was just absolutely perfect.
Yep.
I have like, it's not like, how can I put it? It's near perfect. It's not like the best thing, obviously, but it's the best thing for them to wrap up their story. I think that James Gunn kicked it old school. It felt like an old school MCU film, and people are getting mad at people saying that, which I don't understand because it did feel that way. Feels like because they're the last family, basically, like the last time we're going to see the fam, it felt like a goodbye to that version of Marvel.
I couldn't agree with you more, Amanda. Which is,
and it's like,
it's kind of sad.
It's
I always love new beginnings and new opportunities and new ventures and new characters, but it is kind of makes you go back to, as we just went over with some of these A's and S tiers, even some of the B's. Yeah. It's sad. This is kind of the last remnants of that time.
I know. It feels like we can detach ourselves from watching everything now. You know,
it's that's so tough to Amanda, because we've obviously been so engrossed in this world for 15 years now that I think I am at the point. It's easier said than done, but there are products that I might just not see just because it's just like Marvel's just kind of just doing their thing, and I get it. This is like comics. Not all comics. Not everyone's going to read every comic book, right? There's different flavors for different people, but you know, this isn't comics. This is a movie. This is a cinematic universe. So. It's a lot of pros and cons to be said, but as far as the pros with this film, you said it perfectly, Amanda. By the way, where would you, as far as your S tier, A tier?
I'd put it at an A. I think it got messy at times and it's a bit long, but I'd put it at an A for sure.
I'm right there with you as an A. On my first viewing, I had it like at a B, just because, as you just mentioned, I thought that some of the James Gunn of it all, some of his jokes, like I love Peacemaker, but some of the things that he does with his jokes just run a little bit too long for my taste. The idea that the Guardians didn't have Rocket with them for most of the film kind of threw me off the first time. Like, I appreciated and loved, and it broke my heart seeing those flashbacks. But since this is the last time we're getting the Guardians, I wish that they all could have been together on their last journey. Second rewatch, I come to appreciate it more, appreciated High Evolutionary a lot more, because there was a lot of subtext that I'm like, where does he get his powers from? What exactly is he trying to accomplish in an extent? But on a second rewatch, I'm like, okay, it's still some things I think could have been done to explore his origins a little bit more. I thought that Chewie did a great job in the role. And overall, soundtrack's fire. And you talked about crying, Amanda. My butt was getting teary. I got emotional. I can think of a couple times. One was when Drax is the father, right? He's finally, Drax was such a lackluster character for me for a long time, because he was just the butt of the jokes. But the fact that he was a badass in this film and a soft-hearted giant was great. When he said goodbye to Mantis, Amanda, I was tearing up, because he was tearing up. We've never seen Drax cry, so that got me emotional. And then just seeing them go their separate ways kind of broke my heart. And then, of course, the Rocket and Lila, that death scene was tragic, and him being that kind of in purgatory heaven when he thought he was going to go, and it was not his time. It's emotional. It's an emotional movie, Amanda, but a good one.
Making me cry now.
I know, it's a great film. It's a great film.
It's so good.
It's an A. It's an A. So before we wrap it up, Amanda, just get we're going to wrap up with our final thoughts of what we hope for the future. But just looking at the list, y'all, as you can see, we got through 5 films in the S tier. We got some A tiers, some solid A's, some solid B's, and I feel good with our list today, Amanda. What about you? Are you feeling good about the list? Are there some that you wish maybe were higher or lower? Just general impressions on the list that we created today.
I think we did well from like B to S. I think we did well with those ones. I would put a couple of the C ones in D just because of my own stuff. I'll forgive you guys for Ragnarok being that freaking high. I guess that's fine. But I think we did well. I think when it comes to like C and D tier, everyone's gonna have those films that are like way worse, like bottom of the barrel for them. So it makes sense to have them there. It matches.
And we no Fs, which I know there's probably some people that might have some, but I think this is a good list. I feel good about it. So before we wrap up, Amanda, just the last topic, and we'll call it a day. It's funny, guys. Behind the scenes, I was telling Chris and Amanda, we'll probably go about an hour. Whenever we get together, we just have such a good time, and I really appreciate both of them, and I'm so glad I was able to do this with you all today, Amanda. But wrapping up, last point I wanted to talk to you about. Future of the MCU is shaky. You know, we talked off screen. The opening to Guardians was about 118, which was significantly lower than the one in Guardians 2 was like 147. Superhero fatigue. People are getting tired of the lack of direction in the MCU. What say you come the future of Marvel? Phase 5, we have the Marvels. Someday Blade will finally come out. We have films like Deadpool 3, The Thunderbolts, Captain America, New World Order. That's going to wrap up Phase 5 before we get into Phase 6, which right now is Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four, Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars, and I'm sure they'll flesh it out with other TV shows and other movies like Armor Wars. The future, Amanda, is it looking bright? Is it looking cloudy? What say you come the MCU?
With no direction and no connectivity between projects, none of it's going to matter. People don't need to watch the shows. People do not need to watch the movies. And that's what they sold on Disney Plus to sell the platform. Watch the movies and then you have to watch the shows, and it had to be connected. They're not doing that anymore. It's very clear. I don't care about one character being in a TV show and then pop it into a movie anymore, because they're doing nothing with it. There's no direction whatsoever. Yeah. It's cloudy for me. I have to admit. Yeah. I'm excited for Nia DaCosta for the Marvels. I'm so excited for that movie. At the same time, hella apprehensive.
There's been some things said about some behind the scenes with post-production and stuff. Yeah, it's not the smooth sailing. Yeah.
I'm just worried. That's it. I'm very worried for them. Box office, you mentioned. I think people are really disappointed with what they're watching, and they're not going to watch it again.
Yeah.
Because if I can get it on Disney Plus in 3 months, why am I paying to go watch it again in theaters?
$20. Yeah, I hear you. I think you just hit the nail on the head as far as like, I think we need to prepare ourselves for box office. Not every movie is going to make $1 billion. Like, I know we were living when we post-pandemic, especially in 2019. I mean, every movie was making tons of money. Lion King was $1 billion. Hobbs and Shaw almost made $800 million. Venom made almost $900 million pre-pandemic, which still is crazy to me. So I think we're in a way different state of just like anticipate movies to not just kill it at the box office. I think we need to get back to like when movies make $118 million, that's a success. And granted, it is a step back from the Guardians 2, but 300 and almost 400 million within the second weekend is good. Film's making 700, 600, 800 million compared to its budget of 150, 200. That's fine, guys. We don't need every movie to make $1 billion to make it make sense as far as like, that solidifies it as a good movie. With that said, Amanda, I'm with you as far as the cloudiness of it all. I'm hopeful for the Marvels. Nia DaCosta, I love Tiana Paris, love Canada's own Iman Vellani. I hope they can give us something new with Captain Marvel. Give her some life. Give her something fun to do. Don't make her all just kind of, what we got with the first one. Just give her some personality, which Brie Larson has personality. She's a nerd just like us. She
off screen
watches anime, builds computer. Like I don't know why people hate her so much. Anyway, I hope the Marvels is good. Captain America, your boy Cap. I like Anthony Mackie. I'm hopeful. It's sounding more like a Hulk movie than it is a Captain America movie, which maybe they'll drop the bomb on us on Comic-Con and say, hey, Captain America is actually, World War Hulk or something. But we'll see what comes of that. There's a lot of moving pieces with that film, Amanda. Harrison Ford, so much going on. But I'm hopeful because it is a Captain America. And as we saw earlier with our list, we hold Captain America pretty high as far as standards go. Thunderbolts. We'll see.
I don't know why it's there. I don't know why it's there. I'm gonna be
honest.
The
Beef writer, I really enjoyed Beef, regardless of the controversy. I thought it was a well-written show. I like the director was also a Beast. I mean, the whole Beef show. A lot of that is coming to this movie. Stephen Yeun being who hasn't been confirmed to be Century, but it's looking like he's going to play that villain. Yeah, we'll see, Amanda. A lot of moving pieces, a lot of super soldiers. We'll see what goes on there. And then, like I said, jokingly, but in seriousness, I don't know what's going on with Blade. That is the last film that's slated in Phase 5. But right now, with the writer's strike and a new director, new writers, Mahershala Ali's just sitting there like, didn't you guys announce me at Comic-Con 4 years ago? And I got 2 Academy Award awards there that you guys are just having me sit here and wait for you to give me a mediocrity with the. It's true. I don't know, Kevin. What are you doing, Mr. Feige? But Amanda, we'll see. Hopefully, this is just a stumble before we get to running again with the Deadpool 3, with the Fantastic Four, we'll see what happens with Kang and all that. But fingers crossed, Amanda. Fingers crossed. But again, guys, just to let you all know, our list of all 32 films, take a screenshot at it. Let us know in the comments, scream at us, yell at us, have a good time with the list. Let us know what you all feel about it. Again, it's just our list. This is the fun of the MCU. You can have different movies in different places, and it doesn't make us terrible people that we have, Ant-Man and the Wasp at a D or No Way Home as an A. Just let us know in the comments how you all feel about it. This is a fun time, Amanda. I thank you. I can't wait to find another movie or show to catch up with you on, because we do got some good stuff coming up. Best believe my DC sister over here, we might probably link up for a speedster. We'll just say that come June. But Amanda, outro and out. Why don't you let the fine folks at home know where they can find your content. And we're pre-recording this, so let's just say give them an overview of what to expect maybe in the next week or so on Canada Cinema.
Sure, no problem. This was a lot of fun. I'm so happy we got together and we did this. I missed you and Chris so much, and hopefully we can do it again in the future. You guys can always follow me over at AMXND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube, Candid Cinema. Right now, going into like Mother's Day weekend, I reviewed The Mother and Book Club The Next Chapter. Both of those were fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. And then next week I can't believe I'm going to watch Fast X, but I'm watching Fast X. Avoid spoilers because apparently they hit the interwebs. So if you're a massive Familia fan, do not go onto the internet because there's spoilers. I have About My Father coming out, which is New De Niro and Sebastian Maniscalco, they're both in, and also The Little Mermaid. So I'm really excited to watch those, and I'm just so blessed to be on this platform with Elliot and Chris whenever I get the opportunity.
It's always a good time. And again, Amanda, can't thank you enough. And a lot of things to look forward to in the coming future. And hopefully myself and Amanda and Chris can link up again and talk about those great things coming out pretty soon. But again, Amanda, I thank you. I appreciate you. You all, thank you if you stuck around from the beginning of this video or you're just popping in now. Thank you for watching. Reminder to hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed today's conversation. Share. Leave your list in the comments, your rankings. We would love to read them and see where you guys are at with the MCU, with all 32 movies and the future of the franchise. And don't forget to subscribe, not to just me, but Amanda. Her information can be found in the description of this video, as well as our homie Chris. You can find his information as well. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, this was fun. And we'll see you guys sooner rather than later. Peace out.